Welcome to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. Come on in. There's always a special place set aside for you here where you can relax, kick up your heels, pour yourself a nice, refreshing drink, and prepare to be lifted and soar. Thanks so much, everyone, and welcome back to The Lift with Sheila Robinson Kiss. We've got it all: mental health, movement, motivation, the best relationship advice around. Just want you to lean in. Welcome you to the program. If you're loving what I'm doing, please don't forget to subscribe and share the news of the channel with your friends and family. I have a very interesting topic for you today, dealing with entitled people. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. They really can't take it. Got a note from Corey. I had some other topics lined up, but when I get a note like this, I like to stop and just dive right in because he's dealing with an issue that so many of us uh, have dealt with. I think this issue will be near and dear to many of you. Let me just dive in and read his note. Dear Sheila, I've been tuning in a number of years and recently watched your video about relationship crumbs. I highly recommend that video. I've been in a crummy, pun intended, situation for the last 5 years. The woman I live with and thought I would marry is entitled and spoiled. She expects certain things from me that she herself is not willing to give. A simple example: I just took a trip with my buddies to Mexico. When I arrived, I got caught up in the fun and did not call her until later that night. She went ballistic. The only problem is when she travels, I may not get a call, a check in call for 2 or 3 days. When I complain, she says, "Don't monitor me. I'm a grown woman." I could go on and on. She can dish it out but can't take it. I don't think I can do this anymore. The rules don't apply to her. As much as I hate to admit it, she is a force in this relationship that I don't think I can overcome. So, first of all, Corey, thank you for being a loyal subscriber. I have to tell you, this really, my heart kind of stopped when I read your note because I have dealt with this situation. Many of you have dealt with this situation. Um, I am an advocate. I am an advocate for the truth first and foremost. And I would love to be able to give you just some really fluffy, feel good advice. In this case, I cannot do that, Corey, because the reality is I understand what you're doing and what you're going for here. Uh, you may not be able to recalibrate this situation, this relationship. You're at a place where you want some more equity in the relationship. You want to feel like, hey, there's balance here. I, I want to feel that. We all want to feel that. What a lot of people don't want to admit and just take ownership of is if you've been in a situation for a long time where someone is entitled, someone is truly entitled, and you have reinforced that behavior, you have validated that behavior, you have enabled it just by not setting up the relationship environment where there's boundaries and there's equality. People change and grow all the time. But the issue that you're dealing with, Corey, is she is truly entitled. And what I want you to hear, and just hear me very well: entitled people feel cheated when there is a change in the relationship. I'll say again, entitled people feel very cheated when there's a change in the relationship. It's like I've been able to walk in this candy store and take the licorice and take the, the chocolate covered raisins and fill my bag, and now you're telling me that the bag is going to be smaller. I have to pay something for it. Well, I'm telling you that because that was always the right thing to do. But the way I had it set up is you just kind of come in here and take what you want and do what you want. And that's been abused. So now we're putting some borders and boundaries in. And I'll tell you again, entitled folks, when they are comfortable, when their needs are being served, change. They are going to buck against change because they feel so very, very cheated. Also, want to be very clear that entitled folks who have been enabled, whether consciously or unconsciously in a relationship, what they do is they make a statement, but they never stop to ask a question. And that statement is, I am comfortable with how this is. I deserve it. I expect it. And again, that could be on a conscious or unconscious level. They make the statement, but they never come back to ask the question, what am I responsible for giving in return? How can I balance this relationship out? What are some of the expectations that my friend or my family member or my counterpart might have? That's the thing with entitled people. It's a one way, it's a silo style of thinking. It's one track, and with entitled people, relationships can generally fall out of balance. The larger problem is if you are paired up, family member, friend, what have you, with one of these people, and you start to change and you start to grow, and you want to put some boundaries in, you want some equilibrium, you want things to look and feel differently, uh, you could run into some issues. And Corey, I do believe that's what's happening here. She feels like, hey, this has been a party for me. You're two people, you're in a singular relationship, but you're having a very, very different experience. And I really wouldn't be doing my job in lifting up your life if I told you anything other than the truth. You might be in a situation, if she's not willing to look at herself, make adjustments, and change, where this may not be the person that's ideally suited for you because she's not accommodating your growth as a human being, and she wants to keep things comfortable to her advantage. You're positioned, and this is often what entitled people will do. Again, consciously or unconsciously, they position you in a certain area of their life that's convenient for them. And when you stop being a convenience, or when you say, no, here's a boundary, they don't like that. They really don't. I've seen it over and over again. I had a situation to play out in my life. And that's what really struck me about your note. I'm like, yeah, I was in a similar situation. Dynamics were a little bit different. This was a person I had been positioned as a cheerleader for a really, really long time in their life, and a good cheerleader. I mean, you can imagine, like, I love to cheerlead, but guess what? All cheerleaders get exhausted on the sidelines. There wasn't a lot of energy coming back at me. And what makes it worse, when the cheerleader kind of raised her hand, I need some water here out on the field cheering. Can you bring it to me? It just wasn't there every time. And this went on for a time because I hadn't reached the point in my own growth and evolution where I could identify for myself in my heart of hearts, this is not okay. As I learned and grew and evolved, had a conversation with this person, let them know I'm not, the way this is just not working for me. It's been very disappointing. They continued. They didn't get it. So naturally, I'm at a point, stage in my life at this time. I can't do it. My growth will not allow me to continue to be used in this way and to betray myself. So, what do you think an entitled person? What do you think an entitled person does? Where's the first place that they go? It's not, wait a minute, this person has been a good person. Let me look at myself. What could be wrong with me? A truly entitled person who has you positioned. I was positioned in this spot. No, you are the cheerleader. That is your role. If you don't want to be in that role, what I'm going to do is turn away completely. You're going to be punished now. So that is literally what happened in my case. This person full frontal way, turned away from the relationship. I was wanting an adjustment. You know, this is imbalance. We have to adjust here. But again, that entitled positioning. No, if you're not going to stay right there, there's going to be nothing. And I have to tell you, it hurt. It really, to the core, it hurt me a lot. It wasn't so much the loss of the relationship, because it was imbalanced. It wasn't, that relationship really wasn't feeding me. It was the realization that what I suspected, what I truly suspected was true. I was being used. And when it was time to balance things out based on what is right and what is good and what is decent and my growth and evolution, it was like, you know what? Nope, I'm entitled. So you know what? The Lord moved in, healed my heart, gave me a beautiful, empowered perspective to move forward. And so, Corey, I'm telling you, bottom line, at the end of the day, you're going to need to really do some thinking before you put a ring on this person's finger, because entitlement to that level, it doesn't get better without some core self awareness and maybe some intervention. And you have to understand, if you do decide to move forward, you're going to have to move into some level of acceptance about what you're dealing with. But I just wanted to shed some light on the mentality of an entitled person. It's they really, and again, sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's people operate like this unconsciously, but either way, there's an imbalance. And what can damn a relationship is the expectation. They expect it. And when I said they can dish it out, they can dish it out so easily, but they cannot take it. I remember dealing with this individual, chronically just um, mowing over my time, not being respectful, just ripshot style of dealing. And I remember saying, you know what? You can play with my time in this way. Let me flip the script. And that's exactly what I did. And you know what happened? They couldn't take it. They were very offended. Very offended. And let that be known. That's another hallmark of an entitled person. They operate on one set of rules and standards for themselves, but when you turn it around, it's like, oh, how dare you? I am so offended. And yet the same individual, they knew that they could not justify it. They could not justify their actions, their behavior, their response. So they just completely shut down and went the other way. Another hallmark of an entitled person, not wanting to look at themselves. Not wanting to look at themselves. Many of these individuals will punish or attempt to make you the bad person. But I want to tell you that as you grow and as you learn and as you blossom, the beautiful thing about that is the tools to deal with that nonsense come right along with it. I'm a firm believer that if entitled people, manipulative people, if they have enough instances where folks turn away from them and they don't get their own way, just that in and of itself may be enough to give some of these folks a pause and say, you know what, I need to start doing things differently. But you have to understand, if you enable this, if you just roll up your sleeves and enable it, it's not good for you. It's not good for them. And I feel in my spirit that it degrades the soul. It degrades the soul. It really does. And you set yourself up By putting up with this garbage, you set yourself up to receive more and more of the same. You train yourself into these levels of expectancy. Well, this one got away with it, this one too. Let me tell you what I've said in many of my videos. We are constantly, we are constantly teaching people and training people on how to treat us. Certainly, I hope that those levels of treatment are elevated and high levels of respect. And when they're not, and you just kind of go along with it, you get what you get. There's people out here, they'll know that they're doing the wrong thing. Well, no one's calling me on it. This is very convenient for me. So what happens is you go over into this convenience pile. Over here, this I can do what I want to do. And if they're not called on it, you guys, they will keep going and going. And then you end up stressed out, pulling your hair out, all this stuff. This is not what God intended for any of us. So I'm just telling you about boundaries and what they can do for your life. Start saying no. Start saying this is not okay. Start saying, oh, we're going to have to do this differently. Can say no in a lot of different ways. Pulling back is one way of saying no. Using your mouth to say no. Reestablishing boundaries. I'm not available to do that this time. So we're going to have to balance it out here. And I understand from the bottom of my heart how painful it can be when relationship change, especially when you're doing it, making adjustments in the name of growth and evolution. Everyone is not going to come with you. Everyone is not coming with you. And I'll say again, I've said this scripture many times, God is not the author of confusion. Where there is confusion, sometimes you may have to pull back, let someone get a chance to think about it. In some cases, they're not coming with you, but there will be new fresh faces that drop in, and you have to trust that. That is the path of faith. So Corey, I hope that something I've said here has made a difference for you. I'll be back very soon with some more fresh content, and please again do subscribe. Don't forget to share the news of the channel with your friends and family, and leave a comment for me. What do you think about these entitled personalities? I'll talk to you soon.